I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I'm doing great. Great conversation you guys are having.
Yeah. It's
Awesome.
You got any words of wisdom, any advice, any how's your day going, man? I saw you were with your son.
Yeah, we just went to the Santa Fe High School football field and it started to snow. It was freezing, but it was fun. We grabbed his bag of footballs, my bag of footballs. We're having fun. It was a blast. Now I want to soak it up today. You guys are nailing it right now. I love it. That ship burning story is one of my favorite stories.
It really is, right? I mean, it's just a testament to everything, everything in this book. Obviously you can apply to every part of life. It's not just money, right? It's about every single aspect that you want, and it's really up to us to take control of our lives, be the architect of our own lives, and really understand that we can, through these principles. These aren't like hypotheticals. These are documented story after story after story after story from 1937. And so going forward, everyone on this call has some sort of story that falls within all of this. We just have to live it, breathe it, and believe it. Day in and day out, day in and day out. So
yeah, the best part about it is everything in the book is simple. There's no rocket science. There's no rocket science. I mean, as soon as these principles start to permeate your soul, you realize, okay, burning desire, faith, imagination. I mean, these things are belief. These things are really simple.
Right.
Most people just don't take the time to learn them.
Let's
do it.
Yeah,
lots
of people are wishing for a thing, but they do not ready to being, ready to receive it, right?
Yeah.
Wishing for things is different from being ready to receive it.
Absolutely. All right, let's we'll get this party started. I'm gonna screen share. Let's get this going here. All righty. I'll kick it off for us. So chapter 3, faith, visualization of and belief in attainment of desire, the second step towards riches. Faith, sorry, 1 second. There we go. Faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence. As in case of prayer, the emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of the major positive emotions. When the three are blended, they have the effect of coloring the vibration of thought in such a way that it instantly reaches the subconscious mind, where it is changed into spiritual equivalent, the only form that induces a response for infinite intelligence. Love and faith are psychic, related to the spiritual side of man. Sex is purely biological and related only to the physical. The mixing or blending of these emotions has the effect of opening a direct line of communication between the finite thinking mind of a man and the infinite intelligence. Struggling here today. How to develop faith. There comes now a statement which will give better understanding of the importance of the principle of autosuggestion. Assumes in the transmutation of desire of the physical or monetary equivalent, namely faith, is the state of mind which may be induced or created by affirming or repeating instructions to the subconscious mind through the principles of autosuggestion. As an illustration, consider the purpose of which you are, presumably, reading this book. The object is, naturally, to acquire the ability to transmute the intangible thought, impulse of desire into its physical counterpart, money, By following the instructions laid down in this chapters on autosuggestion and the subconscious mind, as summarized in chapter on autosuggestion, you may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive that for which you ask, and that it will act upon that belief which your subconscious mind passes back to you in the form of faith, following by definite plans for producing or procuring that you desire. The method by which one develops faith, which it does not already exist, is extremely difficult to describe. Almost as difficult, in fact, as it would be to describe the color red to a blind man who has never seen color and has nothing which to compare with to what you describe to him. Faith is the state of mind which you may develop at will. After you have mastered the 13 principles, because it is a state of mind which develops voluntarily through application with the use of these principles. Somebody want to roll? Right here, principles.
Sure, I can. Oh, someone want to read? Go ahead. No problem.
Oh, Dominic's got to assign somebody. He's a quarterback. He's got to pass it to somebody. Take it away, Dom.
There we go. Let's go, Christina. You good? Chris, repetition of a.
Yeah, I'm just
Or
pulling in,
Natasha?
guys.
Okay, Natasha.
Yes,
You're good.
thank you.
Of course.
Okay, repetition of affirmation of others to your subconscious mind is only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. Perhaps the meaning may be made clearer through the following explanation as to the way men sometimes become criminals. Stated in the word of a famous criminologist, when men first come into contact with crime, they harbor it. If they remain in contact with crime for a time, they become accustomed to it and endure it. And if they remain in contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it and become influenced by it. This is equivalent of saying that any impulse of thought which is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which is proceeded to translate in that impulse into physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available. In connection with this, consider again the statement, all thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling and mixed with faith, begin immediately to translate themselves into physical equivalent or counterpart. The emotion or the feeling portion of thought are the factor which gives thoughts vitality, life, and action. The emotion of faith, love, and sex, when mixed with any thought impulses, give it greater action than any of these emotions can do singularly. Not only thought impulses which have been mixed with faith, but those which has been mixed with any of the positive emotion or any of the negative emotion may reach and influence the subconscious mind. From this statement, you will understand that the subconscious mind will translate into its physical equivalent thought impulses of negative or destructive nature just as readily as it will act upon thought impulse of a positive or constructive nature. This accounts for the strange phenomena which so many millions of people experience, referred to as misfortune or bad luck. There are millions of people who believe themselves doomed to poverty and failure because some strange force over they believe they have no control. They are the creator of their own misfortune because this negative belief, which is picked up by the subconscious mind and then translate into its physical equivalent. This is an appropriate place I wish to suggest again that you may benefit by passing on to your subconscious mind any desire which is you wish translate into physical or monetary equivalent in a state of expectancy or belief that the transmutation will actually take place. your belief or faith is an element which determines the action of your subconscious mind. There's nothing to hinder you from deceiving your subconscious mind when giving instructions through auto-suggestion, as I deceive my son's subconscious mind. To make this deceit more realistic, conduct yourself just as you would if you were already in possession of the material things which you are dreaming. When you call upon your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind will transmute into physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available. Any order which is given in a state of belief or faith that the order will be carried out. Surely enough have been stated to give us a starting point from which one may, through its experiment and practice, acquire the ability to mix faith with order given to subconscious mind. Perfection will come through practice. It can now come by merely reading instructions. If it be true that one may become criminal by association with crime, and this is a known fact, it is equally true that one may develop faith by voluntarily suggesting to the subconscious mind that one has faith. The mind comes finally to take on the nature of the influence which dominated. Understand this truth, and you will know why it is essential for you to encourage the positive emotion as dominating forces of your mind, and discourage, eliminate negative emotions. A mind dominated by a positive emotion become a favorable for the state of mind known as faith. A mind so dominated may at will give subconscious mind instruction, which it will accept, act upon immediately. All right, so someone, I will pass the baton to someone else.
Betty, where did Betty go?
So faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. All down the ages, the religious have admonished struggling humans to have faith in this, it's a little bit small for me.
I can make it bigger, hold on.
Just a little bit, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll start again, sorry. All down the ages, the religionists have admonished struggling humanity to have faith in this, that, and the other dogma or creed, but they have failed to tell people how to have faith. They have not stated that faith is a state of mind and that it may be induced by self-suggestion. In language which any normal human being can understand, we will describe all that is known about the principle through which faith may be developed, where it does not already exist. Have faith in yourself, have faith in the infinite. Before we begin, you should be reminded again that faith is the eternal exiler which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. The foregoing sentence is worth reading a second time, and a third and a fourth. It is worth reading aloud. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles and all mysteries which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. Faith is the only known antidote for failure. Faith is the element, the chemical, which when mixed with prayer gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence. Faith is the element which transforms the ordinary vibrations of thought created by the finite mind of man into the spiritual equivalent. Faith is the only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by man. Every one of the foregoing statements is capable of proof. The proof is simple and easily demonstrated. It is wrapped up in the principle of autosuggestion. Let us center our attention, therefore, upon the subject of self-suggestion and find out what it is and what it is capable of achieving. It is a well-known fact that one comes finally to believe whatever one repeats to oneself, whether the statement be true or false. If a man repeats a lie over and over, he will eventually accept the lie as truth. Moreover, he will believe it to be the truth. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which places in his own mind and encourages with sympathy, and with which he mixes any one or more of the emotions constitutes the motivating force which direct and control this every moment movement, story, and act and deed. Comes now a very significant statement of truth. Thoughts which are mixed with any of the feelings of emotions constitute a magnetic force which attracts from the vibrations of the ether other similar or related thoughts. A thought thus magnetized with emotion may be compared to a seed which, when planted in fertile soil, germinates, grows, and multiplies itself over and over again until that which was originally one small seed becomes countless millions of seeds of the same brand. Somebody else wants to read?
Go, Dave.
Sure. The ether is a great cosmic mass of eternal forces of vibration. It is made up of both destructive vibrations and constructive vibrations. It carries at all times vibrations of fear, poverty, disease, failure, misery, and vibrations of prosperity, health, success, and happiness, just as surely as it carries the sound of hundreds of orchestrations of music and hundreds of human voices, all of which maintain their own individuality and means of identification through the medium of radio. From the great storehouse of the ether, the human mind is constantly attracting vibrations which harmonize with that which dominates the human mind. Any thought, idea, plan, or purpose which one holds in one's mind tracks from the vibrations of the ether. A host of its relatives adds these relatives to its own force and grows until it becomes the dominating, motivating master of the individual in whose mind it has been housed. Now let us go back to the starting point and become informed as to how the original seed of an idea, plan, or purpose may be planted in the mind. The information is easily conveyed. Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. This is why you are asked to write out a statement of your major purpose or definite chief aim. Commit it to memory and repeat it in audible words day after day until these vibrations of sound have reached your subconscious mind. We are what we are because of the vibrations of thought which we pick up and register through the stimuli of our daily environment. Resolve to throw off the influences of any unfortunate environment and to build your own life to order. Taking inventory of mental assets and liabilities, you will discover that your greatest weakness is lack of self-confidence. This handicap can be surmounted and timidity translated into courage through the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. The application of this principle may be made through a simple arrangement of positive thought impulses stated in writing, memorized, and repeated until they become a part of the working equipment of the subconscious faculty of your mind. The self-confidence formula. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually produce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant and successful person. Kick it off to somebody else.
Zap, you around?
Pass it, brother. Are you gonna pass it?
Zappy zap.
Yeah, Zap, you're up.
Are you passing it? Okay, got you. Back, I love this chapter. Back of this formula is a law of nature which no man has yet been able to explain. It has baffled the scientists of all ages. The psychologists have named this law autosuggestion and let it go at that. The name by which one calls this law is of little importance. The important fact about it is it works for the glory and success of mankind. If it is used constructively, on the other hand, if used destructively, it will destroy just as readily. In this statement may be found a very significant truth, namely that those who go down in defeat and end their lives in poverty, misery, and distress do so because of negative application of the principle of autosuggestion. The cause may be found in the fact that all impulses of thought have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent. The subconscious mind, the chemical laboratory in which all thought impulses are combined and made ready for translation into physical reality, makes no distinction between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It works with the material we feed it through our thought impulses. The subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by fear just as readily as it will translate into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. The pages of medical history are rich with illustrations of cases of suggestive suicide. A man may commit suicide through negative suggestion just as effectively as by any other means. In a Midwestern city, a man by the name of Joseph Grant, a bank official, borrowed a large sum of the bank's money without the consent of the directors. He lost the money through gambling. One afternoon, the bank examiner came and began to check the accounts. Grant left the bank, took a room in a local hotel, and when they found him 3 days later, he was lying in bed, wailing and moaning, repeating over and over these words, "My God, this will kill me. I cannot stand this disgrace." In a short time, he was dead. The doctors pronounced this case one of mental suicide. Just as electricity will turn the wheels of industry and render useful service if used constructively, or snuff out life if wrongly used, so will the law of autosuggestion lead you to peace and prosperity, or down into the valley of misery, failure, and death, according to your degree of understanding and application of it. If you fill your mind with fear, doubt, and unbelief in your ability to connect with and use the forces of infinite intelligence, the law of autosuggestion will take this spirit of unbelief and use it as a pattern by which your subconscious mind will translate it into its physical equivalent. This statement is as true as the statement that 2 and 2 are 4. Like the wind which carries one ship east and another one west, the law of autosuggestion will lift you up or pull you down, according to the way you set your sails of thought. The law of autosuggestion, through which any person may rise to altitudes of achievement which stagger the imagination, is well described in the following verse. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of this world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battle don't always go to the stranger stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Observe the words which have been emphasized, and you will catch the deep meaning which the poet had in mind. Somewhere in your makeup, perhaps in the cells of your brain, there lies sleeping a seed of achievement, which, if aroused and put into action, would carry you to heights such as you may never have hoped to attain. Just as a master musician may cause the most beautiful strains of music to pour forth from the strings of a violin, so may you arouse the genius which lies asleep in your brain.
We frozen?
I don't know what happened, but
Now we lost the book because we lost Tom. He'll
yeah,
be
the
back.
book is gone.
Anybody else have the digital book?
Yes, I have it. I will share the screen. Just
log back on.
Oh, Dominic's back.
I hear him.
Hello?
We got you.
I passed it to you, Dom, and you were completely frozen like Han Solo.
It was for like, and then it kicked off and then it kicked back on. So
All right.
let's, let me share the screen again. There we go.
Okay. It is a known fact that the emotion of love is closely akin to the state of mind known as faith. And this is the reason that love comes very near to translating one's thoughts, impulses into their spiritual equivalent. During his work of research, the author discovered from the analysis of the life work and achievements of hundreds of men of outstanding accomplishments that there was the influence of a woman's love back of nearly every one of them. The emotion of love in the human heart and brain creates a favorable field of magnetic attraction, which causes an influx of the higher and the finer vibration, which are afloat in the ether. If you wish evidence of the power of faith, study the achievement of men and women who have employed it. At the head of the list comes Nazarene. Christianity is the greatest single force which influences the mind of men. The basis of Christianity is faith. No matter how many people may have perverted or misinterpreted the meaning of this great force, and no matter how many dogmas and creeds have been created in its name, which do not reflect the tenets, the sum and substance of the teachings and the achievements of Christ, which may have been interpreted as miracles, were nothing more nor less than faith. If there are any such phenomena and miracles that are produced only through the state of mind known as faith. Some teachers of religion and many who call themselves Christians neither understand nor practice faith. Let us consider the power of faith as it is now being demonstrated by a man who is well known to all civilization, Mahatma Gandhi of India. In this man, the world has one of the most outstanding examples known to civilization of the possibilities of faith. Gandhi wields more potential power than any living at this time. And this, despite the fact that he has none of the orthodox tools of power, such as money, battleships, soldiers, and materials of warfare. Gandhi has no money. He has no home. He does not even own a suit of clothes, but he does have power. How does he come by that power? He created it out of his understanding of the principle of faith and through his ability to transplant that faith into the minds of 200 million people. Gandhi has accomplished through the influence of faith that which is the strongest military power on earth could not, and never will accomplish through soldiers and military equipment. He has accomplished the outstanding feat of influencing 200 million minds to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind. What other force on earth except faith could do as much? There will come a day when employees as well as employers will discover the possibilities of faith. That day is dawning. The whole world has had ample opportunity during the recent business depression to witness what the lack of faith will do to business. Surely civilization has produced a significant number of intelligent human beings to make use of this great lesson which the depression has taught the world. During this depression, the world has evidenced in abundance the widespread fear will paralyze the wheels of industry and business. Out of this experience will rise leaders in business and industry who will profit from the example which Gandhi has set for the world. And they will apply to business the same tactics which he has used in building the greatest following known in the history of the world. These leaders will come from the rank and file of the unknown men who now labor in the steel plants, the coal mines, the automobile factories, and in the towns and cities of America. Business is due for reform. Make no mistake about this. The method of the past, based upon economic combination of force and fear, will be supplanted by the better principles of faith and cooperation. Men who labor will receive more than daily wages. They will receive dividends from the business, the same as those who supply the capital for business, but they must give more to their employers and stop this bickering and bargaining by force at the expense of the public. They must earn the right to dividends. Moreover, and this is the important thing of all, they will be led by leaders who will understand and apply the principles employed by Mahatma Gandhi. Only in this cooperation with constitutes power in its highest and most enduring form. The stupendous machine age in which we live and from which we are emerging has taken the soul out of men. Its leaders have driven men as though they were pieces of cold machinery. They were forced to do so by the employers who have bargained at the expense of all concerned to get and not give. The watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment. And when this state of mind shall have been obtained, the production will take care of itself. More effectively than anything that has ever been accomplished, where men did not and could not mix faith and individual interests in their labor. Because of the need of faith and cooperation in operating business and industry, it is with both interest and profitable to analyze an event which provides an excellent understanding of the method by which industrialists and businessmen accumulate great fortunes by giving before they get. Anyone else?
Betty, I see your hand up. You're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So the event chosen for this illustration dates back to 1900, when the United States Steel Corporation was being formed. As you read the story, keeping in mind these fundamental facts, and you will understand how ideas have been converted into huge fortunes. First, the huge United States Steel Corporation was born in the mind of Charles M. Schwab. in the form of an idea he created through the imagination. Second, he mixed faith with his idea. Third, he formulated a plan for the transformation of the idea into physical and financial reality. Fourth, he put his plan into action with his famous speech at the university club. Fifth, he applied the following through on his plan with persistence and backed it with the firm decision until it had been fully carried out. Sixth, he prepared the way for success by a burning desire for success. If you are one of those who have often wondered how great fortunes are accumulated, this story of the creation of the United States Steel Corporation will be enlightening. If you have any doubt that men can think and grow rich, this story should dispel that doubt, because you can plainly see in the story of the United States Steel the application of a major portion of the 13th principle described in this book. This astounding description of the power of an idea was dramatically told by John Lowell in the New York World Telegram, with whose courtesy is here reprinted. A pretty after-dinner speech for $1 billion. When on the evening of December the 12th, 1900, some 80 of the nation's financial nobility gathered in the banquet hall of the University Club on Fifth Avenue to do honor to a young man from out of the West, not half a dozen of the guests realized that they were to witness the most significant episode in American industrial history. J. Edward Simmons and Charles Stewart Smith, their hearts full of gratitude for the lavish hospitality bestowed on them by Charles M. Schwab during a recent visit to Pittsburgh, had arranged the dinner to introduce the 38-year-old steel man to Eastern banking society, but they didn't expect him to stampede the convention. They warned him, in fact, that the bosoms within New York's stuffed shirts would not be responsive to oratory, and that if he didn't want to bore the Stithens and Harrismans and Vanderbilts, he had been limited himself to 15 or 13 minutes of polite vaporing and let it go at that. Even John Pierpont Morgan, sitting on the right hand of Schwab, as became his imperial dignity, intended to grace the banquet table with his presence only briefly. And so far as the press and public were concerned, the whole affair was of so little moment that no mention of it found its way into the print the next day. So the two hosts and their distinguished guests ate their way through the unusual 7 or 8 courses. There was little conversation, and what there was of it was restrained. Few of the bankers and brokers had met Schwab, those whose careers had flowered along the banks of the Monongahela, and none knew him well. But before the evening was over, they, and with them, Money Master Morgan, were to be swept off their feet, and $1 billion baby, the United States Steel Corporation, was to be conceived. It is perhaps unfortunate for the sake of history that no record of Charles Schwab's speech at the dinner ever was made. He repeated some parts of it a later date during a similar meeting of Chicago bankers, and still later, when the government brought suit to dissolve the Steel Trust, he gave his own version from the witness stand of the remarks that stimulated Morgan into a frenzy of financial activity. It is probable, however, that it was a homely speech, somewhat ungrammatical for the niceties of language, never bothered Schwab, full of epigram and threatened with wit. Be aside from it, had a gallivant's force, an effect upon the 5 billions of estimated capital that was represented by the diners. After it was over and the gathering was still under its spell, although Schwab had talked for 90 minutes, Morgan led the orator to a recessed window where, dangling their legs from the high, uncomfortable seat, they talked for an hour more. The magic of the Schwab personality had been turned on full force. But what was more important and lasting was the full-fledged, clear-cut program he laid down for the aggrandizement of steel. Many other men had tried to interest Morgan in slapping together a steel trust after the pattern of the biscuit, wire and hoop, sugar, rubber, whiskey, oil, or chewing gum combinations. John W. Gates, the gambler, had urged, but Morgan distrusted him. The Moore boys, Bill and Jim, Chicago stock jobbers, who had glued together a match trust, and Cracker Corporation had urged it and failed. Albert H. Gary, the sanctimonious country lawyer, wanted to foster it, but he wasn't big enough to be impressive until Schwab's elegance took J.P. Morgan to the heights from which he could visualize the solid results of the most darling financial undertaking ever conceived. The project was regarded as a delirious dream of easy money crackpots. The financial magnetism that began a generation ago to attract thousands of small and sometimes inefficiently managed companies into large and competition crushing combinations had become operative in the steel world throughout the devices of the jovial business's pirate. John W. Gates. Gates already had formed the American Steel and Wire Company out of the chain of small concerns, and together with Morgan had created the Federal Steel Company. The National Tube and American Bridge companies were two more Morgan concerns, and the Moore brothers had forsaken to the match and cookie business to form, excuse me, I just lost my place. Thank you, to form the American Group. Tin plate, steel, hoop, shear steel, and the National Steel Company. But by the side of Andrew Carragher's gigantic vertical trust, a trust owned and operated by the 55 partners, those other combinations were Picayune. They might combine to their hearts' content, but the whole lot of them could make a dent in the Carnegie organization, and Morgan knew it. Somebody else?
I got you. The eccentric old Scot knew it too. From the magnificent heights of Skibo Castle, he had viewed, first with amusement and then resentment, the attempts of Morgan's smaller companies to cut into his business. When the attempts became too bold, Carnegie's temper was translated into anger and retaliation. He decided to duplicate every mill owned by its rivals. He hadn't been interested in wire, pipe, hoops, or sheets. Instead, he was content to sell such companies the raw steel and let them work it into whatever shape they wanted. Now, with Schwab as the chief and able lieutenant, he planned to drive his enemies to the wall. So it was in the speech of Charles Schwab, Morgan saw the answer to his problem of combination. A trust without Carnegie giant of them all would be no trust at all. A plum pudding, as one writer said, without the plums. Schwab's speech on the night of December 12, 1900, undoubtedly carried the inference, though not the pledge. that the vast Carnegie enterprise could be brought under the Morgan tent. He talked to the world future of steel, of reorganization for efficiency, of specialization, and the scrapping of unsuccessful mills in concentration of effort, of the flourishing properties, of economies in the ore traffic, of economies in overhead and administrative departments, of capturing foreign markets. More than that, he told the Buccaneers, among them wherein lay the errors of the customary piracy. Their purposes, he inferred, bad been to create monopolies, raise prices, and pay themselves fat dividends out of privilege. Schwab condemned the system in his heartiest manner. The short-sightedness of such a policy. He told his hearers, lay in the fact that is restricted the market in an era when everything cried for expansion. By cheapening the cost of steel, he argued, an ever-expanding market would be created. More uses for the steel would be divided, and goodly portions for the world trade could be captured. Actually, though he did not know it, Schwab was an apostle of modern mass production. So the dinner at the University Club came to an end. Morgan went home to think about Schwab's rosy predictions. Schwab went back to Pittsburgh to run the steel business for Andrea Carnegie. And while Gary and the rest went back to their stock tickers to fiddle around with the anticipation of the next move. It was not long coming. It took Morgan about 1 week to digest the feast of reason Schwab had placed before him. When he had assured himself that no financial indigestions was the result, he sent for Schwab and found that the young man, rather coy, Mr. Carnegie, Schwab indicated, might not like it if he found his trust company president had been flirting with the emperor of Wall Street, the street upon which Carnegie was resolved never to tread. Then it was suggested by John W. Gates, the go-between, that if Schwab happened to be in the Belvedere Hotel in Philadelphia, J.P. Morgan might also happen to be there. When Schwab arrived, however, Morgan was inconveniently ill at his New York home. And so, on the elder man's pressing invitation, Schwab went to New York and presented himself at the door of the financier's library. Now, certain economic historians have professed the belief that from the beginning to the end of the drama, the stage was set by Andrew Carnegie. That the dinner to Schwab, the famous speech, the Sunday night conference between Schwab and the Money King were events arranged by the canny Scott. The truth is exactly the opposite. When Schwab was called in to consummate the deal, he didn't even know whether the little boss, as Andrew was called, would so much as listen to an offer to sell, particularly to a group of men from Andrew regarded as being endowed with something less than holiness. But Schwab did take into the conference with him, in his own handwriting, 6 sheets of copper plate figures representing to his mind the physical worth and the potential earning capacity of every steel company he regarded as an essential star in the new mental firmament. 4 men pondered over these figures all night. The chief, of course, was Morgan, steadfast in his belief in that divine right of money, with with man was his aristocratic partner, Robert Bacon, and scholar and a gentleman. The third was John W. Gates, who Morgan scorned as a gambler, was scorned as a gambler and used as a tool. The fourth was Schwab, who knew more about the processes of making and selling steel than any whole group of men then living. Throughout that conference, the Pittsburghers' figures were never questioned. If he said a company was worth so much, then it was worth that much and no more. He was insistent too upon including in the combination only those concerns he nominated. He had conceived a corporation in which there would be no duplication, not even to satisfy the greed of friends who wanted to unload their companies upon the board Morgan's shoulders. Thus, he left out by design a number of large concerns upon which the walruses and carpenters of Wall Street had cast hungry eyes. When dawn came, Morgan rose and straightened his back. Only one question remained. Do you think you can persuade Andrew Carnegie to sell? He asked. I can try, said Schwab. If you can get him to sell, I will undertake the matter, said Morgan. So far, so good. But would Carnegie sell? How much would he demand? Schwab thought about 320 million. What would he take in payments? Common or preferred stocks, bonds, cash? Nobody could raise $1/3 billion in cash. There was a golf game in January on the frost crackling health of St. Andrew's Links in Westchester, with Andrew bundled up in his sweaters against the cold, and Charles taking volubly as usual to keep his spirits up. But no word of business was mentioned until the pair sat down in the cozy warmth of Carnegie Cottage hard by. Then, with the same persuasiveness that the hypnotized 80 millionaires of the University Club, Schwab poured out the glittering promises of retirement and comfort, of untold millions to satisfy the old man's social caprices. Carnegie capitulated, wrote a figure on a slip of paper, handed it to Schwab and said, all right, that's what I'll sell. That's what we'll sell for. The figure was approximately $400 million, and was reached by taking 320 million mentioned by Schwab in the basic figure and adding 80 million to represent the increased capital value over the previous 2 years. Later on the deck of the transatlantic liner, the Scotsman said ruefully to Morgan, I wish I had asked for 100 million more. If you had asked for it, you would have gotten it, Morgan told him cheerfully. Dave?
There was an uproar, of course. A British correspondent cabled that the foreign steel world was appalled by the gigantic combination. President Hadley of Yale declared that unless trusts were regulated, the country might expect an emperor in Washington within the next 25 years. But that able stock manipulator, Keene, went at his work of shoving the new stock at the public so vigorously that all the excess water, estimated by some at nearly $600 million, was absorbed in a twinkling. So Carnegie had his millions, and the Morgan Syndicate had $62 million for all its trouble, and all the boys from Gates to Gary had their millions. The 38-year-old Schwab had his reward. He was made president of the new corporation and remained in control until 1930. The dramatic story of big business, which you have just finished, was included in this book because it is a perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. I imagine some readers will question the statement that a mere intangible desire can be converted into its physical equivalent. Doubtless, some will say, you cannot convert nothing into something. The answer is in the story of the United States of United States Steel. That giant organization was created in the mind of one man. The plan by which the organization was provided with the steel mills that gave it financial stability was created in the mind of the same man. His faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence were the real ingredients that went into United States Steel. The steel mills and mechanical equipment acquired by the corporation after it had been brought into legal existence were incidental, but careful analysis will disclose the fact that the appraised value of the properties acquired by the corporation increased in value by an estimated $600 million by the mere transaction which consolidated them under one management. In other words, Charles M. Schwab's idea, plus the faith with which he conveyed it to the minds of JP Morgan and the others, was marketed for a profit of exactly $600 million, not an insignificant sum for a single idea. What happened to some of the men who took their share of the millions of dollars of profit made by this transaction is a matter of which we are not now concerned. The important feature of the astounding achievement is that it serves as an unquestionable evidence of the soundness of the philosophy described in this book, because this philosophy was the warp and the woof of the entire transaction. Moreover, the practicability of the philosophy had been established by the fact that the United States Steel Corporation prospered and became one of the richest and most powerful corporations in America, employing thousands of people, developing new uses for steel, and opening new markets, thus proving that the $600 million in profit which the Schwab idea produced was earned. Riches began in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Faith removes limitations. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with life for whatever it takes, for whatever it is that you ask as your price for having passed this way. Remember also that the man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at the time. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's Man Friday until he gave birth to his famous idea. After that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought.
Bam.
Nice.
Excellent. Let me stop the share, bring everybody back. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Anybody have any quick thoughts that jumps right out? That I know most of us have read this before. Like I said, each time I read this, each time it's read, each time I hear it, just more and more things pop out, and it's just powerful. I don't know any other way to I'm going to go back and read it again tonight, and I'm actually going to write down, and I have my own journal, and I suggest all of you do too. Go back and reread these, and it'll hit again. Something else will pop out to take you to that next level, to that next space, that journey that we're all on, because everybody's on a different journey. And each time that these are digested into your subconscious, new things are going to hit. Zap, I see you got something to say there.
Oh.
No, go ahead. Who's that, Derek?
Yeah, hey, this is Derek. Real quick, I just wanted to share a real quick point of reference. When I think about what's been said in this chapter and in the two preceding ones, it puts me in awe to think of what we've been equipped with. The power of these divinely designed elements that allow us to really to shape life, by the purity of our desires, by the purity of what's inside us. And the fact that when they talk about words like infinite intelligence activated by love and faith and belief, those things that are within all our grasp, if we choose to take advantage of them, that it's really like an illuminating kind of acknowledgement for me. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, this is Bianca. A couple of things that stuck out with me. I just took a few notes because like I said, I've read this before, but the one is faith is the starting point of all riches, and then perfection will come through practice. And so when I think about that, especially perfection comes through practice, and a lot of us, really in our heads, we forget that we need to be perfect, but you don't need to be perfect. You need to practice. So the more you go up to bat, the more success that you will have. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that analysis paralysis in our own minds that we're not good enough. And like I said, it's faith, and faith is only believing. And then the thing is, we have to believe in ourselves. So until we really believe in ourselves, can we move forward and help other people?
Money. I love it. 100%, Bianca. It's gotta believe in yourself. You gotta start within first before we work with on the outside and try to help other people and try to help every other thing. Really bring that back to self daily. And I talk about this with Zap. I'm talking about with Dave, with everyone. We don't ever arrive. I don't care what area of life we're talking about, whether it's spiritual, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's, reading, whatever. You don't arrive, you elevate, you go up. And then there's another level, and there's another level, and there's another level. You take a day off or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in any area, you slide back. So we just have to remember that we got to keep pouring into ourselves. We got to keep building us to illuminate ourselves, to really help illuminate each other in more and more people. Christina, you had something?
Oh, yeah, I'm loving the conversations because I just keep nodding my head. Yes, 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 to what people are saying. Derek and Bianca, is that right? Bianca? I just kept nodding all the way because I think that in order to have belief in yourself, yes, it's a work and that you're always moving forward, working on yourself by listening and watching certain materials and having the right people to pour into you. Absolutely. But I think the moment we can learn to let go of having to be perfect, then that can add to your level of belief. I believe Derek was using the word infinite. I resonate with that. We're all born, with the right tools because we were born of an amazing creator. There's nothing that we lack. We put the limitations on ourselves due to what we have been through in life and our experiences. But because we are learning and know better, right, then we can remove all that garbage and let go. For me, it's about letting go of having to be perfect. That will allow me to act as I did today on a call. I did a follow-up call with a realtor, and I said, I'm just not going to try to be perfect. I'm going to be straight and present. And I have a strong desire in my dream and goal. And I'm just looking for the people who vibe with it, so there's no need to be perfect. And I'm learning to let that go. It really is about what we tell ourselves, how we have to be and act. These gentlemen, they had a vision. They believed so strongly in their vision. And I think somewhere in the readings, one of the gentlemen said to the other, if you simply had asked, you would have had gotten more. more money, right?
Yep.
So what stopped him from asking is the question I have. What stops us from asking for our dreams and moving forward? I'm just loving this.
It's
I don't know.
belief. He didn't believe he could get more, so he didn't ask for more.
Right.
Simple. So
Hey guys, how we doing?
what's up, Tyrone?
Hey, sorry I got on late, dog.
You good?
I coach basketball team on 7th grade girls, and when I got opportunity to put my little girl to bed, I try to take that. I didn't have practice
Every
today,
time.
so
Every time, brother.
so yeah. So I mean, I came in a little late, and that part caught my attention, which it normally does, is the power of faith. You know, most people that are successful have some type of faith, some belief in some type of faith, and they really portray it, and they shine on that. And you know, we all need that faith. And just like with this company, I've got a lot of faith in not only the company, but doing things like this. I mean, this is big stuff, man. And this, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm reading the book. And
Awesome.
I've had it for a long time, but
Yeah.
I've just never sat down and read it. So I mean, I appreciate you guys, you know, doing this, because it helps me to gain more faith in myself and everything else, you know. So my faith is definitely there. I suffered a severe stroke about 6 years ago, and my faith brought me through it. I know it did. I mean, so it was a severe stroke, and the doctors told my wife that not to expect a good outcome. But here I am today, you know, still here, you know. So that faith is a big part of my life, and I'm trying to live it. But the faith in this company and you guys and the leadership that we have here, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing there's only 10 people here tonight. So, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to make it more often, as often I can. So thank you.
I love it. You know, and the faith and belief is everything, and you're a testament to it. So keep believing and keep being faithful and having faith and knowing that you're, you know, just, I always tell people, follow your gut. Your gut will always tell you where to go and what to do and who to be around. And, you know, if you follow your brain will think too much. You follow your heart will feel too much. And your gut doesn't have either of those two. It just knows. So, and that's part of faith, and that's part of belief, is your gut, because it doesn't come from believing or feeling it or your heart. It's that gut, it's that soul connection. It's that direct Wi-Fi that we have.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. Yeah, we're here for you and everybody.
brother.
I mean, we're all here to bring, you know, each other to the next level. And, you know, again, if you can't get on whenever it is, I'll put these recordings into the, you know, go back and listen and read and just, you know, really digest what people are saying, and what, not just what the book says, but what everybody has collectively here to say. We're here for, you know, there's a reason that we're on here together tonight, each of us. So Natasha, you had something?
Yes, and I have a question to ask. Basically, are you truly ready to receive what you desire? Right, that question is always coming to my mind when I'm reading the chapter of faith, because the preceding chapter talking about, are you wishing for things to happen? Or are you truly ready to receive the things you desire to happen? And then that question comes, is your belief is 100% belief, or you still have some doubt involved in your mind? That's why having the faith is so important, because I always thought as a woman, we are so powerful because women are emotional creatures. Imagine that you could utilize the emotion in a positive way, mixing with that, you know, the love and, you know, all the positive emotion. It just readily, you know, when people mixing their negative emotion, that's gonna magnetize your desire, really attracting things happen in your life. So be aware how we, you know, especially as a women, we are emotional beings, how we place our emotion in the right spot or the wrong spot. So we have to focus on the positive emotion to magnetize our desire. But at the same time, if we think about the negative emotion, that also gonna as ready magnetize our desire. So we have to be careful, right? We are powerful in a very constructive way, as a woman, but we also could be very destructive away as an emotional creature. So we have to be careful the role of emotion, how that play into manifesting our desire. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a daily affirmation and a daily, thing to work on for men and women. But no, exactly. I feel you. Anyone else? Esther, how are
I'm
you
going to say
tonight?
one other thing
Go
because
ahead.
it just
Yeah.
made me think about
Sure.
in the Bible how it says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And we were reading in here about faith and what we confess and what we affirm and what we say. And, having those affirmations, and in this chapter, it talks about how many times a day the person did the affirmations or what we should. And I think a lot of us, we probably we might say it in the morning, and then negative things will come in our head. And if we say them again, we can really push those things down and push ourselves forwards to really achieve that greatness. So I know for this year, I usually read my affirmations, but really have them with me more often. So if you do get a little discouraged during the day, say some more positive things. And I just thought about that while we were having this
It's
discussion.
powerful.
That
It's
was
powerful.
part of the group, is that it's in our, having the faith, but really confessing that faith and hearing it through our own lips and mouths.
It is very powerful to do that. And yeah. And again, I think what's great about this is we all have the very similar downfalls, and we all have very similar that the negativity that pops into our life, and it's how we respond to it, not react, respond. So that's that practicing that pause in between what happens and what comes out of your mouth, what happens and how you react or respond, I should say, to that, because the reaction is what that builds up over time, but their thoughts are things. So when you think be careful what you say after you say I, because it's powerful. And if you slip and you say, I suck. No, I'm amazing. I'm the best version of me that there is. But if you, and I do, and I practice this stuff, I don't just preach this stuff. Literally, I'll be driving down the street, someone will cut me off, and I'm like, God! And I might say something, but then I'm like, you know what? I pray for you. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope your children are good. I'll put out extra positive energy to counteract the negative that I just put out. It's just a practice. It's not easy to do in the beginning, because you want to cuss someone out. You want to, whatever somebody did to you, or if they cut in front of you, or you say hello to them, or you hold the door and they don't say anything back, whatever. It's easy to think like negative or whatever. But if you think, you know what, hey, have an amazing day, just smile at them. And it's a practice. And then all of a sudden you start creating these new habits in your daily life that just, you can't not be happy, or happier, I should say. It's a muscle. Everything we do is a muscle. So, and if you don't practice and use that muscle, guess what? Again, like I said, in every area of your life, if you're not elevating or touching those areas, they go down. You're either growing or you're dying. And I have a visual I talk to my clients about, is like, in my life, I look at it like a soundboard, where, you ever see a soundboard where you have different levels of trebles and bass and whatever. There might be 10, 12, 15 of them. Every area in my life, I look at that, whether it's my health, whether it's my fitness, whether it's my relationships, whether it's my finances, whether it's my reading, whether it's my meditation, whether it's, my time with God, whether it's my time with my family, I hit those little levels and push them up a little bit. And I make sure that I go back and I keep pushing them up, because we get caught so much in one area, and we get so infatuated with whether it's diet or exercise or spiritual, or get into the Bible, or we get into it, or, we fall in love and we have we have a baby, and we go so far into that area, we forget about all those other levels. Now you're way out of tune. So it's just little tips of, touch it, just keep touching, keep going, keep growing in all areas of life. Don't get don't get caught up in, one area too far, and just have faith that it's all going to work out. Because if you're doing all of the right things, you're doing all the positive things, and you're getting rid of the negative stuff, it can't not be negative if you focused on so many areas of your life that are positive. So Zap, you want to go? I know you got another Zoom coming up here in a couple minutes. So
No, that's good stuff. I've got nothing to add to that, Dom. That was brilliant. I've never heard that analogy of the little musical switchboard and keep leveling up in all the different areas. That's really cool.
yeah,
I like it. I'm on listen only mode right now. You guys are awesome. Good stuff. Really good.
Esther, how about you?
This phrase I heard keeps playing in my mind, that faith and fear ask the same of us, to believe in something we cannot see.
Mm.
And there's a spot in here a couple of times where he talks about that whether it's what we consider positive or negative, that our whatever it is we are believing in is technically what we have faith in at the time.
Right.
That's what's going to come forward. And so this is like directly spot on track with some mindset work I've been doing with a group. And so I'm sort of sitting here in a bit of awe and wonder about how in alignment things happen,
Yeah.
Spot on. And really, you said it all, I think, Dom. So thank you for holding the calls. I appreciate being a part of it.
You are more than welcome. Each and every one of you, and whoever's listening to this later too. Like I said in the beginning, I started this with no real, layout or formulation or how it was going to go or who was going to be on. It was something I knew I had to do, and I knew the right people would, gravitate towards it. And most people, especially with this book, more than any other one that I've read, they start it and they don't finish it. They start it and they don't act upon it. They don't really digest and get into the word and really break it down. And, this isn't a book that like Zap's mentor had him, read it and by the weekend when he saw him on a Thursday, and this crazy man read it in one night. It's just, you can't digest. But again, it's getting it into you. It's getting into your subconscious. It's like, if you can live in this, just take a page, take a chapter, and like spend a considerable amount of time in each of it, and just go back to what we just, like I said, go back and reread this chapter again. You're going to pick up so much, and do it with the next chapter and the next chapter. But make sure you go back to chapter 1 and 2 and make sure you've done your homework within that. And like Bianca said, you might read your affirmation or your 6 steps that you laid out in chapter 2, and then you might miss a day, or you might, and that's me. I'm talking to me. I do it, and then I'm like, all right, I need to go back to it. And then it's all about building habits, right? So no matter what we're doing, we're creating new, neural pathways in our mind. We're remapping our brain to make this part of who we are. Until then, we don't really know this book. We've read it, we understand it to a degree, but do we really know it? Like these men, that's where we need to get to, every one of us. And that just goes through, retraining, rewiring, new habits. Okay, fall off, get back on. It's like I teach in, with my clients in fitness and nutrition. It's like, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday or earlier today. It's right now, and right now, and right now, and right now. Don't worry about the past, because you're growing or you're dying. That's how it is in each areas of these. And it's just, wake up every day, thank God. And, how can we be of service to someone else, and how can we help somebody else out, and just do all the little things that we talked about that are going to put you on that positive track rather than the negative. Because, as Esther said, thoughts are things, whether you think it is or you think it isn't, you're right. That's on you. So
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. I was definitely one of those people that, started this book a couple times and didn't, couldn't get, I don't know, through a few chapters, and then finally got through it, and then I think probably this was maybe my 5th or 6th time reading it. And first couple of times I still wasn't really getting it, but like each time you go through now, you pick up something, that I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm actually applying these things. And it's so cool. Like even just like the other day, for example, I kind of like was in this bad mood. I didn't really know why. And it just kind of like started going through down this negative like spiral, which in the past I just would have like kept rolling for a week down that road, and now it's just like, I was like starting to do some negative self-talk, and like, I just could hear this voice in my head, just like saying, just say something positive, say something good about yourself. And even though like my emotions weren't feeling that, I started saying it anyway, and so one thing I picked up is, a lot of times it's okay for, you're putting this stuff into practice, and, the words sometimes can come before the emotions, or, they kind of get you back on track, and you telling yourself this stuff because you have faith and you believe it. And it's like the negative stuff isn't the dominating force anymore. You're able to like bring yourself back to the positive, like, minutes rather than like weeks. It's freaking incredible, So I've just got some really powerful things out of, and every time I go through this book, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's going through it and putting it to practice, not just, not just being the absorber of the information and, okay, I got it now. But then when you actually apply it and you see it work, you're like, you can't, you can't deny it anymore. I always say, like, if it's happened to me or if it's happened to somebody that I trust and believe, or if I saw it with my own eyes, you can't tell me that it doesn't work or it doesn't exist. And everything that we've read so far, I've seen firsthand happen, or I've had it happen to me. And it's just, it's powerful. So that's awesome, Dave, man. Keep doing it, brother, because it's because you're gonna get that knock on your shoulder. We all do, and we know, like, stop, like, no, my God is too powerful, man. He's got way bigger plans than you got over here for me to go eat that cake right now that's downstairs, or call up that person and cuss them out, or to do any negative self-talk or any of that stuff. Just reach back to the what's in that toolbox. Go reach into that toolbox and throw on a Les Brown or a Tony Robbins, or go for a walk, go do some push-ups, go drink some water, have some tea, just put on some, read something out of the Bible, whatever it is that that's in your good toolbox. and someone taught me long ago, they're like, Don, when there's two things. There's a dark road that we all can get on, and it can happen real quick. So recognizing, one, that you're on that dark road is huge, because there's nothing good down that dark road. Two is to have tools to get you off that dark road. So that's what I was just talking about in that toolbox of great things, whether it's back to your YouTube, look at your history and see of all the amazing things, that you've already watched and seen, that you can put it back on. It's impossible to have that on and think negative. It's impossible to put all that stuff on and think bad thoughts, or not, or have, negative energy in that space. It just won't. They'll keep reinforcing what you already know, just like this right here. Everything in here, not everything, but most things, if you've read it once, you've heard it and you've understood enough. If you haven't ever read it, some of this is new, believe it. I think we just passed belief last chapter, so, and then have faith that everything that you have belief in is going to happen. When? I don't know. That's not for us to figure out. That's in his plan. He's already got this written for us. And just as long as we know that we keep showing up, we keep doing the right things, we keep having the right thoughts put in, we keep having the right downloads into us, and we keep around the right people, get rid of the, prune that tree of the negative people and the news and all that other stuff. You don't need it. can tell you right now, every person I know and that I've been around that are extremely high achievers, they prune every day, every minute, every moment. They don't think twice about it. It's okay. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of these people or those things forever. But for right now, to where we want to go, the plans that, you know, he has for us, you get there a lot faster, tell you right now, you know, so.
I'd like to say that I appreciate the transparency that Dave shared, because in him being transparent, I could identify with some of that. And we're here not only to better ourselves for us, but other people are waiting for us also to show up. And, you know, I just wanted to say, I think it's, I feel like, Dave, like you're incredibly resilient, and we're all here and you're here. So that says a lot. That speaks volume. So we're not quitters.
No,
Thank you. I agree.
definitely no quitters. So I hate to end this because it's such a great conversation, but I'll post this in the chat. And Dave and I got to hop on another Zoom here real quick. So everybody have an amazing night. I appreciate you all, and stay well, stay healthy, do some push-ups, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Tyrone. See you guys.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.